Good evening, everyone. Want to call the meeting to order. It is June 16th, and we are having a special meeting of the New Canaan Parking Commission, and we are all here. And before we get started, I did want to start the meeting with just a brief moment of silence to recognize the passing of our two former esteemed members of this commission who sadly passed away, and even more sadly, really within a few days of each other. So I'd like to just pay our respects to both Rick Franco and Keith Ritchie, who had served on this commission for a number of years. And so please join me in paying our respects. Wonderful men, both. All right. So with that, I do want to call the meeting to order. It is 7:01 p.m. And I guess I'll start off by asking for an approval of the minutes from the May 7th meeting, which was the regularly scheduled meeting. Do I have a motion?
I had a couple of things I noted to
Okay.
drafts that were circulated, but they were very minor.
And I will correct that and send you out an updated one.
Or you can just quickly recite what your changes are, and they can make a motion to approve them as amended.
Okay, that's what we should do.
Yeah.
In terms of the others present, I apologize that I don't remember her name, but the executive director of Glass House was present, participated in the discussion about the Park Street lot, and I think she should be noted in the minutes. On the second page, the second paragraph says Mr. Carl Them made a motion. I think that's Ben. In the next paragraph, paid parking, on the 7th line, there's after pay by plate, it says adding addition apps. I think we need additional apps. And then in the paragraph begins at this time. There are two references to the selectmen, and I think we need the first selectman.
Yep.
Those are my only suggestions. But those select suggestions, I would move to approve the minutes
As amended.
as amended.
Is that the motion?
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
Right. All approve?
Okay.
All righty.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
And then the second order of business is the business permit renewal fees that the Board of Selectmen has approved the recommendation on those fees that we discussed last month.
Yep, just wanted to share with you that the Board of Selectmen did approve it, and we sent out our business renewals last week, so they should be coming in very shortly. So everything seems to be moving along smoothly.
I have a question on that. Did we, I feel like sometimes I have these conversations with different people and I forget where I have them, but did you invite anybody during the business renewal period to take part in the Everbridge, to sign up through your Everbridge call out? How they could do it? You know how you've now selected to be a
Correct.
member?
No, we didn't put anything. I'm putting something in the newsletter
Okay.
about the alert system, but
I'm
we
wondering,
didn't go out to the commuters either. We just kind of added that to the alert
I
system.
think going forward though, because they're really the group that you want to be communicating with.
Okay.
If you have any, I think you should come up with just a copy and paste, so sort of paragraph that invites people to sign up for your
Okay.
communication.
Okay.
And anytime you talk with them, that you put that in there so that you'll get your list. Well, Tiger knows he's been working feverishly. He's only at 1900, only 1900.
Okay.
But it would be all those people that you want to subscribe to that.
And maybe we can.
Yeah, he'll come back.
I bored him with my.
No, Tiger always comes back.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
that would be my suggestion, is just that, and then if you can make note for the next renewal period, let's actually have something that goes as part of.
As part of the renewal. Okay.
The more emails and opt-ins that we can get from people so that you can communicate with them directly is a good thing.
Okay. Okay, should I move on with number 3?
Yeah,
And just to say the same thing about our commuter, I keep saying commuter permit renewal fees, the board of selectmen approved it as well as the late fee. So I'm in the process of putting all of that together and, working on the letters, the emails, the whole account system, so we're moving, happy with the progress that we're making with them and, how the current company is working with us, so. I think it should be a good renewal period. That's it for me.
great. Super. Well, then I guess we can turn it over to Tiger and Maria, who are here to discuss the updates for the Park Street and Playhouse lots.
All right, well, thank you very much for having us. For the record, Tiger Man, Director of Public Works. And I'm joined by Maria Coplet, our town engineer.
Good evening.
So we wanted to kind of walk you through. We are planning on repaving both the Playhouse lot and the Park Street lot later on this summer, early fall, in conjunction with the work that we plan on the ramp going from the Playhouse lot down the alley to Elm Street. So that should help kind of bring some vehicles off of Elm Street. It'll have a little proposed loading area along with it. So in conjunction with that work, we are looking at repaving these 2 lots, and in so doing, we've got to restripe them to kind of bring them up to current standard. Right now, they're either 8 or 8.5 feet wide. The depth varies as well, as far as not standard 18 or 20 feet deep. Very similar to Morse Court. Actually, we found on the Playhouse lot that we actually had some lots, there's some spaces that were even smaller than the Morse Court lot. So let's bring you through it a little bit. This is the existing lot itself, the existing lots. The Playhouse lot is on the right, Park Street is on the left. To give you a little bit more feeling, just to the right of the Playhouse, this is the Town Hall Annex, which used to be called the Teen Center. The Playhouse is right here, and the alley leads straight through here. So this is where the compactor is at present. And then you come down the staircase down the alley, and Elm Street is along this frontage here in front of those properties. So at present, the Park Street lot has 124 spaces and the Playhouse lot has 55. Again, they are definitely undersized, 8 feet wide to 8.5 feet wide. Some are 17 feet deep or less, with various problems with flow, with traffic flow running around through the lot itself. So our proposal is this look. So you can see the Park Street lot gets a major overhaul, as does the Playhouse lot. So the Playhouse lot, this is our loading area, our proposed loading area, with 2 additional accessible parking spaces, which would then be on this accessible route leading to the ramp and then down the alley to Elm Street. So this would satisfy our concerns with having adequate accessible parking for the Playhouse and for the lot itself. And then the Park Street lot has a makeover as well. And then this line here of compact cars would actually become more of a standard space, a 9x18 space to accommodate cars. Right now, we've got larger vehicles in there. They're starting to shade into the lane and causing a problem with larger vehicles on this side of the aisle, shading into the lane. It makes it very difficult to travel up and down the drive between Park Street and the Town Hall lot and Main Street. So the overall thought is this. Again, we'll be looking at making them 9x18. The standard for P&Z is 9x20, but in the Village District, we're allowed to make them 9x18 by the regulation in the Village District. So we'll be going to P&Z for an 8-24 review, very similar to what we did for the Morse Court lot, and have them look at this change and approve this change. And then also to enhance circulation, we will be having 24-foot aisles so that we can have flow in both directions in each one of the aisles. So we have substandard flow in the Park Street lot at present, and we have some difficulty around the Playhouse lot as well. So in so doing, making the aisles 24 feet wide, we can get cars traveling in both directions and not necessarily get into the bottlenecks that we're seeing specifically in the Playhouse lot, where if one car goes in the wrong direction, everyone seems to have to stop in order to get the bottleneck fixed. To give you an overall view of the counts themselves, again, we had 124 spaces in the Park Street lot, 55 in the Playhouse lot. We'll be going to 111 with the new layout. Obviously, going from an 8-foot space to a 9-foot space, or a 7.5-foot space to a 9-foot space, is causing us some loss. So we have 111 spaces proposed for the Park Street lot and 46 for the Playhouse lot, which gives us 157 overall and a delta of minus 22. But both lots will be compliant from an accessibility standpoint. Both lots will be compliant from a planning and zoning perspective. And we think that it will help just an overall usability of the lot itself. And then we might see some increased turnover, whereas someone who cuts into the lot, gets into the space, might say, I don't want to move again because it was so hard getting in the space, I don't want to move. So we're hoping that we might be able to see some increased turnover as well. But as we mentioned, Maria tried to make everything as standard as possible, trying to work with as much 90-degree spacing as possible. And very few, we had to do one set of areas where we're looking at having a different view, but we tried to stick with that idea of the 90-degree angle being the most effective for space utilization. And then again, if we look at it from the village guidelines, section 6.2, we're allowed to be reduced to not less than 18 feet from the standard indicated, which is 9 by 20, provided the commission makes an affirmative finding that the dimensions provided for vehicle access, site circulation, and parking are appropriate for the site, and the reduction in dimensions is fine. So we'll be going to P&Z for that look, and so I can bring the overall look back up again, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have associated with it. Maria spent a good amount of time on this. I won't say an inordinate amount of time. I wanted to say an inordinate, but she spent a good amount of time on here trying to go through various iterations to try to get as much parking as possible and get as much flow. We went out on several occasions to take a look at the lot. We measured the lot. We had a survey of the lot itself, and then we went out and verified certain dimensions just to make sure that what we're showing here will work. What's shown on the plan will work in the field, and we feel it's a very nice plan, and it should satisfy the needs of both lots. So I'm happy. We're happy to take any questions that you might have at this point in time.
Hi, I have a question, Katie.
Sure.
2 questions actually. Along the back end of the parking lot against the residential area, is that the same number of spaces along there, or does that change?
Maria, do you remember that?
Excuse me, I don't have a count of that row, but it's generally wider parking spaces because as Tiger actually found the original design drawings, and they were for 8-foot wide, 17-foot deep parking spaces. So there's a slight reduction, but it's not by many, because what we're able to do is, if you can see where the hash mark is as you go closer to the Playhouse lot, we're trying to pick up a couple more parking spaces in that lane, but I don't have the exact number of how many are in that row right now.
Is that something you could get back up?
Yeah, we can go up there.
Of course. Yeah, right now the proposal is 23 parking spaces.
As someone who parks there, I have a permit to park there. It is super tight.
Yeah.
Super tight. In fact, I usually park in the first one closest to the Playhouse. and hang over, so everybody has a little extra room. Just what Maria was talking about, but those, I mean, when everyone is in there, you can barely get into those.
They're not
Well,
always-
No. they're
Tiger,
not.
if you go back to the existing, the last parking space as it's close to the Playhouse lot, that's 21 parking spaces
Yeah,
on that row.
I came to 22, but I think that I counted 22 in here, but I think it's 21, as you
That's
mentioned.
what
I think-
I thought there was 21 myself.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're bringing it up by 2,
Correct.
3.
We're probably down to like 19.
No, he's saying gaining.
Yeah.
No, we gained 2 to up to 23.
Gain 2 on
Because
that row.
yeah,
but, yeah.
To Maria's point, we were able to kind of work this area here where it was more of a hash area and a non-striped area to make it work. And we were able to accommodate an additional accessible space in this area, basically in a unused portion where along this wall, where you couldn't necessarily get a car in because they couldn't open up their door. We could use that as an accessible aisle for an accessible space.
My other question, and I'm just looking, just because of this bird's eye view, I'm thinking about now I know some delivery trucks must go there already, right? For Soleil, we have deliveries back there.
Some,
Or not
but
yet. Because I'm thinking, okay, so they're going to be coming in that first driveway, correct?
Yeah, close
In
to
here?
Yeah, so when they go down, how are they going to make that corner when they go to exit?
Maria?
So, well, when you keep on going straight, do you see the width of that hashed aisle? Not only did we increase the width of that aisle from 24 to 28 feet, that hash aisle is an additional 10 feet. So that gives you the turning movement to actually make that turn back to where the note says Playhouse lot. And then we're not changing that geometry of that existing curb right now. So the trucks and refuse that make that turn onto the driveway, that would be the same.
Okay. So I know it's tight back there.
I think
just
what you're
for a
looking at
regular
picture
car.
right now, there might be a truck in the picture right now.
Yeah,
You're right, Mike.
Right? Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see them in there, I think they tend to make it around, or if they
Yeah,
do
we're
want that.
usually good.
Yeah, they are,
Where are the dumpsters going?
over to that corner of
The,
Russ.
the dumpsters are going right here in this red hashed area here. And we're relocating the staircase around. Right now, the staircase comes down on an angle. We're relocating the staircase to empty along the back side of the embankment. And the
Oh.
refuse, the compactor and the dumpsters will be behind a nice, the plan is for a nice stone wall, surrounded with a gate in the front. So you necessarily won't see it. And then there'll be some screening from the top with some fencing here and some railing along this side. So as you're walking, you're not looking into the top of the dumpsters. And then as you come into the lot, you can't see into the dumpsters. Right now,
Right.
as you know, it's not very inviting to walk past a compactor and a dumpster area to get down the alley. So we're trying to get them out of the way built into the embankment so we don't lose any space, and get them a little bit further away and make this entrance here, the alley, the top of the alley and the ramp, much more inviting for people coming into to visit downtown.
Right. Tiger, I have a question about that. So that staircase is going to get relocated slightly. Does that change the sort of incline then of that staircase? Because I was wondering when I was looking at these new accessible spots that you've got on the left-hand side of the Park Street, whether or not if we were able to make a ramp rather than a staircase or alongside a staircase, that then if you might think about making those that are closer to that existing staircase accessible so somebody could come out with a wheelchair or a stroller or what have you, go down the ramp and then have, closer access to that alley.
We did not at the time. We looked at maintaining the staircase themselves because the accessible route for these spaces here is down the sidewalk,
Right.
down Park Street to Elm Street and access it that way. So we didn't look at that. We didn't look at that per se. We could, I think I would have to get into the same situation where I would have to have a similar here where I've got a switchback on the ramp. I might be in the same situation where I have a switchback. So
Right.
the feeling was that by placing the accessible spaces here, the accessible route then is down Park Street and then onto Upper Elm Street down to the Playhouse. We didn't
Yeah,
do necessarily a walk to see exactly, the difference in distance, but having the additional spaces here, we felt satisfied the need. And we to treat the two lots separately, because this is one separate lot from this.
right. And just, can you explain how you access and egress those two accessible spots that you've put into the Playhouse? I'm having difficulty figuring that out by this drawing, but it could just be me. Is it just because they're going to go in and out through those hashtags, right?
Yeah, Marie, you want to speak to that?
Correct. No, yeah, so those are your standard parking spaces, your pull in and back out parking spaces. The accessible path will be behind the car, exactly, and follow to the ramp, and the ramp's shown outlined in red, and that will take you down to the alley. But you would just back out through that aisle space. That aisle space is also that full length because it's also a pull-in area for a loading space that's right in front of the ramp. So it's a shared use that
Right.
striped area.
So is there a risk that one of the handicap parkers gets blocked in by a truck?
By a truck.
So that overall length is over 50 feet. So the idea is that you're going to have the loading dock itself is in front of the ramp and not the parking spaces.
But if we're trying to get trucks off of Elm, wouldn't there ostensibly be more than one there at a time?
So I think that candidly, this same concern that we have on Elm Street, that sometimes when those trucks double park, if they could potentially be blocking someone who's parallel parked as well. So there are going to have to be some enforcement to try to train this new delivery area, this new loading area, that would not occur. But again, like the idea is that you do have enough length in that area, even right now where you see some of our parking in that drive aisle too, the parallel parking. So there might, if there are two trucks, if that is one of the questions, there might be a potential to queue in that area. Again, our deliveries tend to be done in the early morning hours before those parking spaces are occupied. So I think that as long as we can just enforce that a truck does not, if someone's parked in the accessible parking space, that they don't block them room back there for a second truck if there's already one in the loading space.
Maria, Katie, I have another question. So with the trucks will be going northbound on Park Street and making a right into there. Do they have to go into the oncoming traffic lane to make that corner? Because there's often traffic parked, backed up on the Citibank side, and I'm just wondering with the influx of delivery trucks, what that will look like.
I agree that, so if you're coming from the Elm Street direction, that I believe is going to be too tight of a turn to make in that way with the wall. So you would be going in the other direction on Park Street. You can make the turn in, or you can actually access from the driveway or the main driveway itself that goes past Town Hall.
Oh, so you come in by the town hall. Oh, and then you're coming the opposite direction.
I see. Yikes, yeah.
But then might you have people facing each other, right? In that driveway?
If you are coming in off of the main Street Drive, you still have the ability, right? There's two-way circulation. Correct, and then you can go down.
Well, that's,
Well, this-
we've said all along, I mean, some of the big trucks we're not
Not gonna be able to sit there.
Yeah,
We're
okay,
just not gonna be able to do it.
okay,
This is
so we're not
for
trying to
small
divert.
box trucks,
Okay.
we can't.
Got it, yeah.
It's just a big tractor trailer.
Yeah.
Not.
Never, the turning ratio would never.
But these
big
big
green
truck,
truck.
the FedEx truck, those kinds of trucks that stay for a while.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point, let's be clear about that, is that this is not a design to reduce every single truck that's gonna be on Elm Street, because that's not possible. But this is to alleviate a lot of that congestion.
Right, it won't accommodate every single truck and every single movement, but it'll accommodate the majority of the trucks that visit downtown. And the majority of the movements. But the lot itself just is not conducive to every turning movement of every vehicle.
And let's also be honest, I mean, we have to right size these spaces, I hate losing spots, but. What we heard from a lot of feedback, a bunch of these conversations, is that people were saying they don't even like to go to the Playhouse lot because it is so tight, they don't even look for a space in there. Because it's so tight, so this should right size everything and at least make both the lots a little more attractive for people to park there. Without getting-
I've been getting complaints about the Playhouse lot specifically for a very long period of time. And all we said was that the moment we repaved it is the moment we'll upgrade the striping. Yeah, this has been a bane, especially in like these couple spaces right here. You know, they're very, very tight. I think that people avoid it, you know, and then when they avoid it, then they're trying to go back down to Elm Street to try to find a parking space because they're avoiding these other spaces that are available because they're just too tight or they don't want to be bothered.
And we've received generally really positive feedback from the more sport right sizing. So, the same thing applies here.
Right, but that does concern me about their inability to make that right-hand turn into that access way. Because the trucks will be coming down Elm Street that way. So then they'll realize, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go straight. I'm gonna take a right on Park Street and a right into, you're gonna have to really,
It's not that they can't make the turn. They just, the turning movement will involve crossing the yellow line to make the movement itself. It's not that they can't. They probably can navigate, put a turning template on it. But the question from Katie was, can they make it without going into the oncoming lane?
right, that's what I'm saying.
That makes that movement there would be very difficult for them to go
Right.
into the oncoming lane, which is probably what they do now. I haven't watched our garbage truck come in, but our garbage truck, the dumpster truck, comes in and comes down this lane. I can imagine
Right.
that if he's coming from Elm Street, he's utilizing a little bit of extra room, which
Right.
is allowed.
Right,
It's
but
fine.
that is often backed up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's backed up a lot of the time.
Probably, it's not even going on Street, hopefully just go right on Main Street and take the left.
Yeah, I think it'll be a learning process.
And it's probably backed up a lot of the time in the mornings because people are going to the train station.
Yeah, I come in that way every morning, I mean, I've seen it, I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying for being able to make that right hand turn, if they have to do that,
Yeah,
that's generally.
Yeah. you're right.
It'll be a learning experience for the
Yeah,
trucks
they'll come
and
from the
we'll try to
intersection.
guide them and direct them, and once they get it down, they usually follow what they normally will do once they start.
I'm quite honestly, I'm most excited about the fact that those spots across, by the where you park. Because lately, that's been
They've
lost,
been
of course,
sticky.
people with a ladder on the back of the truck or table trailer hitches or whatever. You're just going like this to get through there, so. Okay.
Yeah, last week there was a Sprinter van parked in one of these spaces right here that stuck out almost halfway. You know,
Wow.
at that point in time, there was a couple of other larger vehicles in here, and you could barely squeak through with one car. So I think that this revised layout is going to help.
And can you remind us how many spots are there currently on Elm and that we'll be converting into paid? Do we have that number?
Yeah, you want 75.
75, because one of the things I was thinking, so so it's going to be a total, even though we're losing 22, we're really picking up 157 free spaces. And you said there's 7,
111 Playhouse is not going to be
111.
free, it's just Park Street. So it's 111.
111.
so Playhouse is not going to be free. It's going to
No,
be,
those spots all against the berm there, those are all long-term parking. Not the middle spot on the Playhouse lot, but the ones that are all where the green, to the left of the Playhouse lot, those
right,
Cars on right now.
are 6-hour spots.
right. They're going to stay. That's right. We talked about that. So what's the net? What's the net gain of free spots? If there's 75 that are going away on Elm Street,
Well, it depends what time of year you're asking, because this time of year, you're only 55 on Elm Street, so you're almost 2 and a half. So one,
Yes, I can't. I got the handy calculator.
And is Locust also turning into free?
no,
36.
No.
there's a lot of that is commuter. Kevin, it's daily, and it's long-term
Business.
daily parking. It's not term, I'm running a business, I'm running into a store. It's got some town hall folks, it's got commuter parking, it's got more longer terms. There are some spots that are, quick, or 2-hour spots in Locust, right?
In the Locust lot?
Yeah.
No,
What's up front? Someone said something the other day, that there's some that are,
the 30-minute.
yes,
That's on Locust
oh,
itself.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so down towards Forest and across by Joe's
So
Pizza,
they're for-
those are 30, by
Okay.
by the Great,
Okay.
those are 30.
the,
So,
right.
So it's a gain of 36 free spaces. 111.
Well, we've got,
111 minus 75.
yeah, but the percentage on the,
Oh,
36. 36.
So as I mentioned, next month, we're gonna look to go to P and Z. And then we'll come back to the commission to give a recap of what the commission found. And then at that point in time, we'll look to construct, assuming everyone is comfortable with the revised layout. And if there's any questions in between the process, we can certainly try to address anything you might have.
Hypothetically, how much, if we get rid of like half the berm on the bottom, so the south side, or I guess the bottom of the screen, how much more spaces would you be able to get?
We
Like
we
2 or
looked at
3?
that. We looked at that to try to but it's a little bit difficult because you don't necessarily gain enough space on this side when you walking in on this side. And this retaining wall, we would have to put a retaining wall in here.
Yeah, oh no, I'm talking about the retaining wall on like the bottom by like the alley, or the where the trucks would be coming in.
You're talking here
Yeah,
or here?
right there. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
There.
If you
Go ahead.
add like if you add like a retaining wall there and then like have like a little extra space, you can do not parallel, but like the vertical parking all the way down.
Well, you're talking through this spot right here.
Yeah.
So that's so in essence, that's 66 feet, Maria, I believe. So at 9, you got 7 spaces, you gain 4 potentially from it, but that's also assuming that I can get the full depth, but I don't think I can get the full depth
Correct.
of 18 feet in here.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult. We did a number of years ago, and I'm going back 20 years now. We did do an analysis here to see if we could put a retaining wall here and what that would give us. And it just doesn't buy us enough room. We're already going to have to cut into this embankment slightly in order to make this layout work. I think it was about a
Correct.
foot to 2 feet, I believe, Maria.
Correct. Yes.
And,
Down at the lower Playhouse
Yeah.
lot level. Yes.
yeah, right along here, we're gonna have to do about a foot to 2 feet. So to then put a wall in here, say, and try to move all these over, we don't have enough space in here to then give us the space that we need over here. So because you
Yeah.
remember, you need, I need 18 feet to gain a space over here. We just don't gain it. And it was
Mm.
very costly at the time that we were looking at it back. That was Mike Pastor and Frank Denicola. Mike was a previous town engineer at the time, and Frank was a director. And we looked at it then, and it was very cost prohibitive at that time. So we did not do that analysis only because the room just doesn't fit.
And those trees do actually really help for the heat island effect. And just to take that planted area out actually is not helpful. What we're trying to do is make the layout more efficient to see in places where we can actually carve out some of the asphalt and plant again. So obviously leaving the striping area there for the relocated stairwell, but some of the striping that's along that drive, we could actually saw cut that pavement and potentially make more of a planted area.
Right.
Which I think planning and zoning would appreciate because it would get us closer to compliance. As Tiger was saying, that is our goal. And that is their kind of threshold for us, is to get closer to compliance.
And one more question: the stairwell that goes down to the stairwell between like the White Buffalo and Chef Louis. There's like right now there's like a space where I think you could walk down, and would this effectively be getting rid of that,
No.
or would you be
No.
able to walk behind the cars?
Right. We'll be keeping that space, that access route to the staircase that goes down here and down past White Buffalo. That's to
Yeah.
Tucker's point. That's a private staircase, but we won't block that access.
And then but there's also like a stairwell on the berm, like above it.
Oh, the stairwell up here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I think it's a ramp actually right now.
No, it's actually
it's stairs.
it's a stair. It's a set of stairs. We'll be looking at that again, and we'll either, the thought is to either just have it, get rid of that and just have the people come down the one ramp, the one staircase, or then we'll have to enhance that one. We haven't made a final decision on it. It's right here. We
Yeah.
haven't made that final decision here. The
I-
original thought was to remove it since the Iron Mikes were there. But if we're not going to have Iron Mikes here, then we'll get rid of that staircase and we'll just have the one set of stairs here.
And then if it's just the one stair, is there a way to make the one stair like more clear? So if you're from out of town and you're parking in this spot, you kind of know like, okay, there's a stair here, by like clearing up that, like that one corner spot. Like if there's two cars parked there, I don't know, it might be hard to see that like there's a stairwell there.
Right. I mean, I don't know about getting rid of that staircase that's right in the middle there, because it is such a convenient access way. Because from people coming from the middle of the lot and from this, the center of those interior rows, they'd be having to kind of walk all the way around versus just being able to cut through and be really close to that staircase.
Or
We
worse,
could certainly-
you just walk down the ramp.
We could certainly wait to see a desire line, Katie, to your point, right? That people start walking on the grass, we find a desire line. It's one of the ways to locate a sidewalk. But then the other thought is to try to not have it be hidden behind any of the cars and possibly put it in this location here where we've got it. We've
Right.
only got a striping area.
Yeah.
So relocate it from here to here. It's granted, it's maybe it's a little bit of a distance, but it would probably be a little bit more noticeable. But we can certainly take a look at that. Our original thought was if the Iron Mikes went away, there's no need for the staircase. We can get rid of the staircase and reestablish this embankment and try to put in some plantings through here and kind of beautify the area. We've lost plantings over time and haven't replanted anything
Yeah.
in a number of years. So the thought was if we could, to Maria's point, reestablish some of the greenery in here, then we could replant it and make it a little bit more welcoming, and then just try to break up the overall view and the look, possibly get some shade and things of that nature. But we can certainly take a look at that. That's not a,
Well, we're already asking people, we're taking, in many people's viewpoints, we're taking away their easily accessible free parking on Elm Street and asking them to, you know, walk additional distances to park for free. And then we're kind of, you know, making it even less convenient. So just something to think about.
So yeah, we can, like I said, we can certainly look at that, you know, at the time. Right now, we were really focused on the layouts themselves, and then we can, the finer points, we can see, let's see where people travel, see what's happening, and see what's available at the time when we actually lay this out and
Right.
get a good look on it at that point in time.
Yeah, I
But-
think that's a small change that might make people really cranky. Moving that staircase from the right near the White Buffalo private staircase, moving it away from there, as Nancy said, making it less convenient. It's a small thing, but I just have a feeling people would not be happy about that.
In fact, my experience at the Tiger put in a nice path at Talmadge Hill. And my experience with that suggests that having a car parked right in front of those stairs will make people cranky too. So, you know, because the nice path that Tiger put in at Talmadge Hill is inaccessible almost all the time because somebody's parked with a gigantic Ford pickup truck right in front of it. So if you have a staircase next to a parking space, which we have to have with this layout, the staircase is going to be very hard to get to. You'll have to squeeze between two cars to get to it, and only people who that is there will even do that. So if you move it down to where the gap is, where Tiger is suggesting, it'll be, even though you have to take a few more steps, it'll be better than squeezing between two big.
Right. Well, you know, and I think that's okay, you know, because it's, you're going to be redoing the staircase that's over in the corner that kind of connects you down into the Playhouse lot. And I do think it's important to have a second entrance egress from the midsection of the Park Street lot. So even moving it down, it looks actually probably be about 50 feet, right? Because if each one of those is 10
Correct,
feet,
yeah.
9 feet wide, yeah.
9 feet.
Yeah, 9 feet, so it's about 54 feet. If you're, you know, looking at it from that standpoint, yeah, from here, from the edge of this parking space, it's
Right.
9, 6 spaces to get to here. So it's about 50 feet, but it also gets it almost center of the lot.
Right,
Granted, the, you know, the access for that staircase is here, but I also, you know, like I said, we can look at it and see that we'll get a desire line very quickly. And we'll know where people are, you know, heading down
right,
at that point in time. But we don't,
right.
I don't want to make anybody cranky by any stretch of the imagination. It's just more of a, you know, like I said, we were at this point in time, you know, stressing the trying to, you know, work on the layout itself, and then the amenities. Once it's like we landscape after, right? We come in, we put the improvements in, then we landscape after. We, you know, we have a generalized landscaping plan. We put in landscaping after. Very similar here. We can have a look. The layout itself can't necessarily change, and if we keep the staircase where it is, you know, to everyone's point, I lose a space. I don't want to lose another space just to provide access. I'd rather try to put it in a spot where we're already providing access and people can come through at
Right.
that point in time. But we can certainly look at that. You know, it's a good point, and we can take a look at that and see what else, how we could tweak it and make it a little bit better.
And I would just ask again, that maybe you could think about adding a path alongside the staircase, the laid out staircase in the corner there. Because I think that would be very convenient for people.
I have
Maybe
a
not-
question about that one, actually, where it says the number 13 on there, on the new, where the new staircase or the moved staircase is going to be near the dumpsters. Is that a spot on the right there too? Like if two cars are parked in that right angle, how are you going to get down to the stairs?
There's typically room between the two in here. When you have this situation, there's typically room to make it between the two cars into that area to then access this ramp. Again, we didn't want to lose another space, and the thought is that if we make this too big, somebody's going to park here anyways. If we make this hash mark, say we take this space out and make this hash mark a little bit bigger, someone's going to realize and squeak in, or someone's going to come in on an angle. and then mess it all up for everybody. So the thought was to try to maximize it as much as possible, but even with a car parked here and a car parked here, there's adequate room between the two.
It's
Okay.
a standard layout.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria.
Tiger, in a perfect world, what's your time frame in, redoing this lot?
In a perfect world, I'm waiting for the bids to be returned for the obviously our first focus is to get this ramp in and the staircase in. In essence, we need to kind of build our way out and then into the lot and then out of the lot. I don't want to rebuild the two lots and then try to do this and have heavy machinery and ruin the lots while I did it. So right now we're focused on that. We're hoping that this is now our original try was to have it before the sidewalk sale. We're not going to make that. So we'd be looking to come in straight after the sidewalk sale and start this work and complete this work and then work our way out. The lots themselves to repave and restripe the lots, not a lot of time. About we would try to take one out of service at a time. It's about a week per max, maybe 3 days per. The thought would be in August into September build for here, and then a September build, late September, early October build for these two.
When do you lose asphalt for the season?
Oh, December 15th, the plant's closed, but I like to be done sometime around Halloween, so we don't have to worry. But we can go all the way to December 15th, and as long as temperatures are favorable, which they typically are, the plants usually close right around that time for the holiday.
And then after you lay the asphalt down, you have to usually wait like a week or two to paint.
Wait about a week just to try to get some of the oils out, because what we don't want to do is stripe the first night and then cars drive all over it and ruin and kind of take the gloss and the finish off the striping, the retro reflectivity off the striping. So we wait about a week and we'll have them come out, lay it out. We'll approve the layout, we'll review it and approve it, and then go from there. But once it's laid out, people can start parking on it in its layout, and they've done that in the past. So about a week in between from the paving to the striping, but I can get the layout guys out there within a couple 3 days to lay it out, and then while we're waiting for the oils to dissipate, people can park in the configuration that we've designed.
Tiger, can you just with your cursor, for those of us that are sitting here, we're not looking at it as directly as you are. Can you with your cursor show the sidewalk again? I mean, not the sidewalk, the new staircase coming down where the dumpsters are.
That's right here. That red area, the red mark is right here. So you'll come into the lot straight through this corner, and then down the staircase and access from here, and then come down the ramp.
Yep, thank you. We just.
Yep, it's right here. Yeah, the red. Yeah. You can see where the existing one is you can see this white and gray here. That's the existing staircase, and we're just turning it slightly. So we know everyone accesses it, comes straight down through there. We didn't want to lose that access or that point and, make everyone further cranky. We just wanted to be able to just tweak it a little bit in order to fit the dumpsters in.
Thank you.
No problem. Like I said, we'll go next month. We'll ask Sarah to be our planner to be put on the P&Z. Hopefully it receives a favorable review, and then we'll come back and tell you if P&Z suggested any changes, wanted any changes, required any changes, anything of that nature. And then by that time, we should have a much better feel for a construction schedule, and then tell you exactly how we're going to play it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Oh, did we lose Nancy?
Or she may be.
She may be.
Nancy?
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. We can only see like 4 or 5 people at the top, so we didn't know if we lost.
Oh, I know. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you so much, Tiger and Maria, for
Thank
putting
you.
this plan together and sharing it with all of us. It's a lot of work. no question.
No, no problem. I know, like I said, we'll come back and, we'll tell Stacy how we did at P and Z, and then we'll come back and give you a formal report as well. And then we'll go from there.
Super.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Great. Never easy, but I think it's a really good, step. I think people will be, happy to have the increased, width in that Playhouse lot for sure. And one thing, and this is unrelated but unrelated, is as we get into more of the communications plan, to actually, call them the Playhouse lot and the Park Street lot. I was explaining it to somebody who's been a longer term resident of New Canaan than I have, which is going on 25 years, and they had no idea, like, what's the Park Street lot? What's the Playhouse lot?
We just call it parking up above.
Yeah, right. So we've got to somehow be able to communicate all of that. At any rate, all right. So Stacy, Tucker, and Laura, we're looking forward to your updates on the paid parking.
Well,
We left the meeting your last meeting and, took a lot of your comments, which were good comments, back to Deanna and others. And one of the ideas that we had, which we ran by Nancy, but wanted to run by all of you, was we kept hearing this, we really need more of the 15-minute spots. Where can we accommodate more of that? And the thinking was to do that along Park Street spaces right now on Park Street, parallel spots there. So in front of the downstairs entrance to CVS and the toy store and the fish store, and then even going up the hill, there's 3 or 4 more going up
spaces.
Sorry,
4
more spaces.
Yep.
Going up towards Lillian Lawrence. We decided that made sense as a good location for more 15-minute spaces for a number of reasons. The biggest being that because we have them more support, this is now that sort of mid-block. This would be the top of the block rather than have them all be in one location. Obviously, a lot of the businesses there are more run in, run out kind of businesses, although we're very careful. We are and have been very careful to not design parking based on the businesses that are there today, because things can change. So it's got to be sort of an overall plan for in the best interest of the downtown, the circulation of the downtown. So that was the proposal that we shared with Nancy, and just wanted to sort of get your feedback on that. Again, we've talked about it internally, and everybody seems to think that that's a good location for it. So anything more than that?
It gives us 7 spaces, which is more than what you probably would have got if you were to put them on Elm Street. It also makes it easier for enforcement because they're all in one area, as opposed to spreading them out throughout Elm Street, or even putting a few up on top or a few up in bottom. That was one of the biggest concerns on how to enforce it if they're not all together. Like in Morse Court, the 15-minute spaces are all in one area, so it's easy for enforcement. These will also be in one area, easy for enforcement. So that was another concern. So we thought that it would help with that as well.
I think communication, I think trying to explain to people, if we had spot 15-minute zones, there would be 100 people in your office saying, but I thought it was, whatever. So I think designating an area, just like in Morse Court, in terms of communication and public knowledge and public usage, this would make a big difference.
Before that was surfaced, what was the plan going to be for those spots on Park Street?
As is, nothing, no changes.
2-hour on street free. But now they'll be in, this is sort of similar. I've gotten some emails from folks saying, had I seen what Greenwich had done, which I have, and if you've read about it, it has been kind of a disaster, only from the standpoint that the meters. So they did the lower part of Greenwich Avenue. They put in these bright red meters. In Greenwich they have a meter almost in every spot, and they were 15-minute meters, and they didn't work well. So people were having a problem with that. It wasn't so much the concept of the 15 minutes. They applauded that, and the first selectman was quoted as saying that he heard from a number of the merchants that they needed these types of spots, but that the concern was that these meters weren't working. So that wouldn't be our issue. These would just be 15 minutes free.
My feeling is that, okay, so if you're coming up Elm Street, because we know a lot of people will come up Elm Street first to look for the spot. I think the ones by CVS and the Toy Store are not going to be as accessible to people making that left-hand turn. You're going to have to reorient yourself. So for people looking for a spot, those are not, to me, as good as having them on Elm Street. And I think that if we had a group of them on Elm Street, the enforcement wouldn't be as difficult as if we had spots around. But I do think that short-term spots on Elm Street would service the Elm Street merchants better than being on Park Street. I think that will be beneficial to Starbucks. They will, that will probably, I currently will park there when it's a Starbucks, CVS, and people who already have parking lots though. CVS and Starbucks. And the ones on the
Well,
hill.
actually, at Starbucks, what I see happening at Starbucks is people are pulling a bus.
Yeah, I
A
know.
lot,
is
and that
crazy.
really irritates me.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know we don't wanna serve particular businesses, but even today, I have the most recent picture in my phone. I was driving up Elm Street and the juice shop on the alley, Arvida, people are always pulling into the alley, and this one was just blocking the alley, running into Arvida.
I think your point about before going up the hill, right now, those are occupied because people are parking for 2 hours. I think there'll be so much more available.
Yeah.
Because they-
That's what happens in
Yeah.
North Shore, yeah.
Right, so I think.
Right.
Those spots on the hill, though, don't feel like you would just run into, like, park there and run into a store. I mean, they're far from some of the run-inable stores. And people get really nervous about, like, parallel parking there because you kind of have to stop the traffic coming from the Elm and what is that? Park Street intersection. I don't know. That's just my thought. I mean, I agree with Katie. I think there should be more on Elm Street, but I mean, I see both sides. They just don't feel like run-inable spots there.
Well, for the New Canaan Chicken or Barbita, and even Starbucks, it's not that far.
Yeah.
It's right there. on the
Yeah, but at that point, you would probably just pull into the lot and run down the stairs if you could still get down them, I guess. Because those are free back there.
Closer, I think, instead of going all around the back and then coming down the stairs, you have to run quickly in there. It is a little closer.
But I do think Katie's point, because you're gonna be coming down Elm Street and, then you would take a right to go say, okay, well, there's nothing there. So, I mean, what about, we've got that one that's already on the corner in front of Houlihan Lawrence. So what if we got two, put those 3 that are right in front of Houlihan Lawrence, and I always forget what's there. Is it the phone store or something, or Chicken?
Now,
It
but
used to
the
be
ones
phone
in front of Houlihan and Lawrence are going
Yeah.
away. Those,
I
they
think
are
what she's
taken-
saying is like, could we add a couple there along with the ones?
Oh, okay.
Right.
We could take that back, but this seemed to be a concession from having none to adding 7. And again, you're right, today, driving down Elm Street, you may not know they're there, but it's kind of like horse court. When you know they're there, you'll go over there deliberately, and I do think that those 4 will turn over more now that they're gonna be 15 minutes. I mean, quite honestly, I think a lot of the real estate folks take advantage of those spots because it's right there, and if they're getting, stuff in and out of their office, but that was just the latest idea, and I think that was one that seemed to have a lot of positive response.
Well, Tucker, in last meeting, and I appreciate your saying this, that we're being nimble on this whole thing. And if we see that double parking, things like that aren't being alleviated, maybe down the road, we can entertain.
We have said that all
short-term
along,
on
we're
street.
being nimble. One thing that I just wanna manage everybody's expectations is nimble doesn't mean we're gonna try it for 6 weeks, and if it doesn't work, nimble means we're gonna try it for like 6 months,
Yeah.
even to a year. before we come to any real conclusions, because it does take that long for people to understand.
Adjust to the new
Yeah,
parking.
yeah.
the way-
Now, if there's something right out of the gate that becomes so crazy,
Dangerous.
yeah, of course, we would adjust, but, we definitely wanna be nimble, and I appreciate that as well, because you can't, you've gotta be able to do that, but you can't do it on a whim, you gotta make
But
sure.
I don't want this to be looked at if it's not successful or it doesn't seem to be helping as short-term parking doesn't work. Because this is short-term parking off the beaten path.
Yeah.
As opposed to Elm Street short-term parking.
Okay.
Which hasn't
That's
really been tried in a nice chunk on Upper Elm Street to service the Upper Elm Street. You know.
Right.
Right.
What's going on in the parking lot that across from the old post office?
It's
Pardon?
2 hour.
It's 2 hour long, it will stay the same, it'll, and that's a nice spot. I
Is it
would park
free?
there. Free.
It's free. A
Yeah.
2-hour free lot
Free
Yeah.
lot.
right there.
Yep. And you can usually find a space there,
Right, there's the 4 that are facing, you know, the 4 or 6 that are,
and there's 4 on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 5, I'm not sure. So those will stay the same.
That's my secret parking lot during Christmas season.
I know, yeah.
It is, it's like the best kept secret, but maybe without
Yeah.
patience, that is going to be one of the things we have to.
Yeah.
Tell other people about.
And it's funny that most people don't, I mean, and just all of us talking, that isn't a go-to lot, but I don't know, is it just because in people's heads, it seems like it's far away off the beaten path, to use your point, Marley, but clearly it's a great little lot, and it's right.
What is our signage like there?
2 hours.
2 hour parking. The very favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 2 hour parking.
There's no meter, there's no.
That's no way to pay.
Well, maybe in this whole changeover, as people reorient their brains, that
That's
will
part of it.
come to the, yeah.
And then is South Ave across from Mobile gonna be free, or is that gonna be paid?
That's paid. That's gonna be part of Elm Street, so there'll be 1 machine on either side. There's 10 spaces on that lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
You mean in front of my restaurant?
Now, up closer towards, it's a loading zone, everybody just wants to park there.
so.
We
What do
don't
we
need to
think?
take action on that, I mean, we just wanted to bring it to your attention, it seems like it's something that, we were gonna move forward on, but as I say, that was in direct response to the meeting, and we just wanted to make sure you all were aware of it. And I take the point, Katie, that, you know, if for whatever reason it doesn't work, this can't be a short term doesn't work, it's just maybe it wasn't the right location if we look at that.
Right. Right. Any other questions or comments? Fellow commissioners?
I am taking a lot of notes on the communications because we did have our first communications meeting with the group that's gonna be putting all that together. We were literally listing all the elements of the communication, and we realized that we're gonna have to be very careful and strategic about, if we put it all out there at once, it's just gonna be too much, so we're gonna have to do the, you know, the initial piece is gonna, we'll have all the information will be available, but in terms of what we push out, you know, we're gonna have to just be careful on how much we put out there and what's the priority information to send out initially, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And again,
I know Deanna doesn't like signs, but I think it would really benefit to like put like free, like put like a little like blurb in front of like most of the parking lots in New Canaan, like free parking 2 hours here or something, you know, and the name of the lot.
We got some templates for signage, and we also thought, or I guess you weren't in that meeting, but we also thought that maybe we don't wanna inundate the merchants with any paraphernalia that they would have to hand out, but we do hear that the merchants say that people come in all the time, oh, parking's so hard. We thought we might have just a business card size QR code that a merchant could say when someone comes in and says, I don't know where to park, or we could say, you know, here's the QR code that takes you to all the information. Take it with you, use it, whatever, to help with that. But signage is definitely something we're talking about in terms of making sure people know where to go.
Yeah, I mean, and even for the, oh, sorry, even for the railroad lot too, because like, people, like I'll park there, and just, like I've had people come up to me and be like, "Is this free parking?" And I'm like, "No, permit parking,
Oh, but that's-
unless it's after."
well, 1
10.
o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we talked about that, we're gonna also incorporate how Darien right now has that once you get in after 9:30. The municipal, the railroad lot, the commuter lots open up to anybody who wants to park there after 9:30. We're gonna do 10:30 based on our schedules, but we're
Right.
gonna say after 10:30 in the morning. If there's a spot open at the railroad lots, it's fair game, go for it, park there and.
And that's changed from 12:30 now?
No, that's 1:00.
1:15 or yeah, 1 o'clock.
and that should be put into a sign so that when you drive in, you see, oh yeah, okay, I could park here.
Yep, yeah. Right.
And we're talking about, involving the merchants, like when we're ready to kind of roll some of this off, invite them to, we'd ask the Playhouse for an hour, invite people into the Playhouse, have Tiger and Maria and you guys and everyone walking them through what it is. We want the merchants to have the ability to be the ambassadors and not feel like it's happening to them. Because, it's a net positive. And then also I'm working with some marketing folks to, is there a place where on merchants' Instagram or their website to say where to park, and depending on where they are, the closest lots, and kind of giving the rules and regs. So if someone is coming from out of town, they'd be able to access, a map and all that, so.
We even talked about where either on the new bump out, which is sort of screening for something, right? The one across from Dunkin' Donuts or over by the Moreno clock, of actually finally building a little billboard, kind of a kiosk.
Kiosk, yeah.
That would have kind of, you're here, but would also lay out all the parking lots. We could use it for some of the merchants could, they could all have their spaces on there. Kind of like you've seen them all. I think all of us that live here take for granted that we all kind of know what's going on, but I think we have a lot of people. Laura and I just came from an event over at the Playhouse, which is a lot of social media influencers, and these people are hot on New Canaan right now, and most of them don't even live here. But they were all saying New Canaan's the place to be, and they come all the time. Actually, no one talked about parking at that event, and I wonder. It was kind of nice. So anyway, but I think you're right, Laura. I think we've got merchants have got to help us, or we've got to help them make sure.
Yeah, we have to help them be a part of the communications plan.
And like Tucker said, it is a 6-month kind of process because we have to re-educate and kind of, I hate to use this word, but kind of retrain people on
And seasonal or
and
seasonality.
right, on how to park, where to park and things like that. So it's
Yeah, you can't base our decisions on December
right.
or in, February,
Right.
right? You gotta really see it play out.
So in terms of timing, you're still looking at August?
The machines, we sort of went through our timeline
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
We have another meeting Wednesday.
And
on
then-
the back end.
And then we'll set up a meeting with marketing. I've got some templates on the signage. I've been working with one of the app companies, and then I'll be with the marketing. We'll be talking about another app. We're trying to get the information together, and so it's moving along. So
We're lucky to have Greg Riley on staff to help us with writing a lot of this too.
Right. Are you planning anything, at the sidewalk sale?
We were talking about it, if we can have it all together by then. Again, one of the conversations that we're having right now is we're trying to figure out exactly what we're being charged by the credit card companies for all the processing, because we've got like 4 different credit card companies right now.
Yeah,
Our meeting is this week, because then we can determine what the parking rate's going to be. Which we think, we have an idea based on what we've done in the past, but we just want to make sure that we're not, as Deanna has been very clear, this is not a revenue producing endeavor, but on the other hand, we can't lose money, so we've got to make sure we're at least whole. So that's what we're trying to do. But yes, we would definitely take advantage of any time that we could, or any exposure to people at the sidewalk sale if we have it all organized by them. That's like in 3 weeks. Well, no, that's like a month. I don't keep Laura heart failure.
yeah, like a month.
Um,
It's a
It's
great
fun.
opportunity. And then
Yeah.
maybe something at the library too, or we mentioned the Playhouse, but I
Yeah,
think
we,
people-
we would do press releases, maybe we get some podcasts done, you know, that kind of thing. We'll take advantage of anything that's available to us.
All right. Well, with that said, just looking, that was it. Oh, well, we've got your report, Stacy. So,
I always add, but there's really nothing new to add. I kind of filled it in with everything else, so we've talked about just about everything that I would have wanted to cover.
How was your vacation?
It wasn't not a vacation, but, it was good. Highway.
You babysitting?
No, help them move.
Oh,
Cross country.
Cross
Cross country.
state, Florida too,
Oh.
with 4 little ones, a lot of trucks. But,
Okay.
thank you.
She came back, she said, I'm so happy.
all right. So it's 8:10 PM. And I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Anybody? Katie? And how about you, Kevin? All right, very good. Then we're adjourned. And we shall see you. The next meeting is on Wednesday, July 9th. So we'll see you then.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah.